All right, welcome to our quick video about some of the basics surrounding the AP Human Geography exam. My name's Chris Gall, if I've never met you before. And here we go. All right, so first things you gotta know. The AP Human Geography this exam this year is May 7th, 2024. That's a Tuesday. Testing will begin promptly at 8 a.m. Okay, that's a hard time, not a soft time, meaning that you have to be in the room ready to test at 8 a.m. It'll end around 11. That's a soft time, not a hard time. So it could end anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes before that to 10 to 15 minutes after that, but likely not more in either direction. Okay. Again, they do not admit late testers. That's a College Board thing. That's not a Federal Way thing or a me thing or anything else. Okay. And then in terms of where you're going to test, it's the Todd Beamer High School Small Gymnasium. Okay. The school day at Beamer starts at 7:25 a.m. They've asked that you be there by about 7:30. That'll let you avoid the scrum if you're getting there at 7:30, but still make it on time. And if they get everybody there by about 7:30, that means they can do the directions and fill in the information sheets and all of that before 8 o'clock so that you could begin your test promptly at 8 and be done that much earlier. When you get to Beamer, you're going to go in the main entrance and you're going to hang a right and go into the main office and check in as a visitor. Once you do that, they'll direct you to the small gym from the office. And then once you are done testing, you're going to expect it to either leave campus right away or wait in the office for your ride. Okay, and there's plenty of places like to go grab a bite to eat or things like that down by Beamer that are within walking distance if you wanted to walk and meet your ride at like the Taco Time or the McDonald's down by there. All right, other things you got to know. The test itself is about 2.5 hours, including the break time. So you should allow for around 3.5 hours, including the instructions and testing and anything else that might happen. Okay. You can take a bathroom break during the actual test, but just know that it comes out of your time to complete the exam. Okay. There is a scheduled in break, and we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. There is no early release if you finish the test early. All start and stop times are the same for everyone. Okay, so they're not going to let you leave if you finish early. They're going to make you just sit and wait it out. If you get asked to help set up or tear down tables and chairs, I expect you to do so. Okay, they may not ask you. It'll depend on how many tests they have and whether or not they use that gym the day before or that afternoon. But just know that you might get asked, and if you do, I expect you to pitch in and help out. Okay, we're going to test with the kids from Beamer, which means in addition to the 10 of you that are signed up for the exam, there will be around 100 or so kids from Beamer. Okay. I am not allowed to be there on test day, which is to say I'm not allowed to be in the room on test day. Okay. So you're going to be working with Molly Holt, who's the testing coordinator at Beamer, and Becky Friedman, who's the AP coordinator, and then with any other proctors that they happen to round up for the exam. Okay. Please, when you're there, just follow their directions to the letter. Okay. Failure to do so means that you run the risk of your exam not being scored and potentially, depending on what exactly happens, everybody else in the rooms. So please just follow their directions. Okay. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes. Other things you got to know. There's really 3 parts to the time during the test. The first part is the multiple choice. You'll do 60 questions. You'll have 60 minutes. Okay. There'll be a 10-minute break in between sections, and that's when I would recommend you get a drink of water, you go to the bathroom, but at a minimum you stand up and you stretch. Okay, get the blood flowing again. And then the last part, there's going to be 3 free response prompts that are going to have 7 parts each. And you'll need to complete those in 75 minutes. Okay. All testing is done paper and pencil, or pen, as the case may be. You're more than welcome to bring your own, but they will also be provided if you do not do so. Okay. So bring your own pencils if you'd like. And then for pens, dark blue or black. Okay, dark blue or black, no funny colors. You should bring those potentially. Something to drink. Think like water in a closed top bottle. A snack if you want it for during the break time. And maybe something like a watch. Okay, but they will have clocks on display as well. And a quick note about watches, they should be standard watches, not smart watches. You are discouraged from bringing your phone to the exam. You're more than welcome to use a school phone to call for your ride if needed. Okay, but just know that if you do bring your personal cell phone, you are going to be expected to turn it completely off and hand it in for the duration of the exam. Okay, they will not allow you to access it during breaks, and they will give it back to you after everything is all wrapped up. And again, that's a College Board thing, not a Federal Way thing or a Miss Gall thing or anything like that. Okay, so a few words about technology. So first of all, any technology you bring into the room may not make noise. Okay, no noise whatsoever. So that means if you've got a watch that beeps on the hour, leave it at home. Okay, unless you can set it to not beep. All phones need to be turned completely off, not just silenced. I'll tell you a story about that in a minute here. Okay. Failing to do so and having some kind of technology on your person that you're not supposed to during the test, or having technology that makes noises, means not only do you run the risk of your test being invalidated, which I have seen happen to kids, but potentially the test of everybody else in the room with you. Okay, so please, don't bring technology with you. And if you do need to, make sure that if it's a smartwatch or if it's a phone, that you're powering it down and handing it in. Okay. And what happens if, say, somebody's phone alarm goes off is that the proctors have to report it to the College Board, who then makes a decision about what people, if any, are affected by what happens, or if you happen to, say, get caught with a phone in your pocket. And that's where I've had kids be invalidated before, is because they didn't turn their phone in before the exam. Right? Again, they'll collect them at the beginning of the exam. They'll want you to power them all the way down, and they will return them after testing is completed. May not use it at any point during the test, and that includes the break times. Okay? Just to give you some idea of horror stories and things that might happen. Several years ago, probably about 5 years ago now, 6 years ago, when I taught at Beamer, we had a kid who brought her phone into the exam. She silenced it. She did not turn it off. She had an alarm set because she needed to call her mom every day at the same time about something. The alarm function, as it turns out, was not silenced when she silenced her phone. They're in the middle of testing, the phone goes off. That kid's name was Mud for weeks. And I mean that literally for weeks. People weren't talking to her because her phone had gone off during the exam. Please don't do that. Okay, please don't do that. If you do happen to bring your phone with you, just turn it all the way off and hand it in. Okay. And again, like I said, if you don't and they catch you on it, or see it on you, even if you're not using it, they have to confiscate it and report it. And technically that kind of thing is a disciplinary offense. Okay. In addition to whatever College Board may or may not do. Okay. And then, like I said, just make sure you're following the proctor's directions at all times, because they'll know what to do if, for example, the fire alarm goes off or things like that, to make sure that you've got the best possible chance of having your test score count if anything wonky happens. All right, so some quick recommendations in terms of test preparations. First of all, beg, borrow, steal, purchase, check out, otherwise acquire. an AP Human Geography test prep book. There's a whole bunch on the market, but I would recommend you go with Barron's, Princeton Review, or Kaplan. Okay? Those are some of the best ones on the market. You get them new or used at Amazon or in your local bookstores. Right? If you get it used, go 2021 or newer. New, they run around 20 bucks on average. Used, you can get them for closer to 10 if you're purchasing. They'll give you more info about the exam itself. They'll help you review content. They'll talk test strategies. They'll give you practice questions and exams. They're really kind of a good bargain, especially if there's things that you're not quite sure about, because they'll explain things differently than I did or than the teachers in some of the videos or some of the other readings did. They'll give different examples of things. So it's really overall, if you're serious about the exam, not a bad idea. Okay? They're not strictly required. They are helpful. And if you cannot afford one, and if your library doesn't stock one, and I know King County used to at least have at least one, because I knew somebody who checked one out. Please let me know. I have a whole bunch. I'll send one to you, right? And I won't even charge you to do it. I just got to know that it's got to get done. Okay. All right. Other recommendations in terms of test prep. Take a little time every day, at least 5 days a week, to prepare. Aim for, on the low end, 10 to 15 minutes. On the high end, 2 to 3 hours. But most days, you're going to want to keep it more in the 30 to 60 minute range. Spend this time on a variety of activities, but make sure that you're including things where you have to quiz yourself over things and recall information. Things like flashcards are a great way to force yourself to recall information. There's a whole bunch of other games and things like that online that you can use as well. Okay. I also know paper and pencil tricks for that. If you want, just send me an email, let me know, and give you some ideas. I'll post up some ideas, and I have for this week already posted up some ideas for things you can use to review with or to check out as part of your review. There are plenty of others that I either don't know about or didn't get around to posting up. So feel free to use those as well. And let me know if you find anything cool, and I'll post it up for everybody else to use. Okay. If you can, this is kind of a super secret trick that we often don't teach you in terms of study skills. If you can, do your prep at different times of day in different locations, because you're going to test in a strange location at what is probably for you an unusual time of day to do AP Human Geography. And doing things like that will just help your brain to recall the information easier on test day. It's one of those weird but true facts. Okay, after the AP exam, once we're all done, you've put in your required time, so required assignments are going to be pretty minimal. Basically, it'll be to check and make sure you're using your time wisely and well, probably to get stuff done for other teachers. Okay, I do have to have something to base NPR marks on to go with your course grade. Okay, I will accept resubmissions and other things to bring up your grades, and I will have some optional assignments for kids who are interested. And optional means just that. If you do it, I treat it like any other assignment. Goes into the bucket like any other assignment. If you don't do it, I excuse it, and it does not harm your grade. Okay. So if, for example, you're one of my kids who's got an A and you're like, nope, not going to do it. I'm good. I spent enough time on Human Geo this year. Don't do it, and you keep your A. If you've got maybe a B or a C, you want to bring it up. This might be a way to bring it up a little bit. Okay. Mostly those will be of the world history variety, because that's what the other 9th and 10th graders have been doing, but they'll overlap with what we've been covering in AP Human Geography. Okay. And then just so you know, I'm offering AP World History next year, so they will kind of try to build into that AP World History piece as well. I do still technically need to hold Zoom meetings, but I'll keep them perfunctory, which is to say they'll be short and sweet, primarily for attendance purposes. With 2 exceptions. May 14th, I have to proctor SBA, and so I'm not holding any Zoom meetings for anybody that day. Okay. And June 11th, I'm going to be in Cincinnati grading AP Human Geography exams. So on that day, we're not going to bother either. Both of those times, you'll get marked excused for attendance purposes. Shouldn't be a problem. All right. Another big question I often get that comes up a lot of times right around AP exam time. Does your exam score affect your course grade? And the short answer is probably not. Longer answer is that AP exam scores come out in July. So that's after I have to post grades in early June. On the off chance you score in a way that shows you know the information better than your course grade would indicate, then we will raise your grade. If not, let's just pretend you have an A and you get a 2. We assume you had a bad day on test day and we keep your A. Okay, so if you do better, then we raise it. Anything else, we don't touch your grade. Okay? Just so you know. The other thing worth knowing is AP Human Geo is one of those classes where if your second semester grade is higher than your first semester grade, we can go back and adjust your first semester grade to suit. That's why you like the fact that I was doing comprehensive unit exams all year. So if your second semester grade ends up higher than your first semester grade, let me know and I'll submit the paperwork. It doesn't take very long to do to get that first semester grade adjusted. All right, just to wrap it up, if you have any questions, please reach out to me directly, either parents or scholars, right, via email, and I'd be delighted to answer them any way that I can. So I will see you next time.